I just thought I'd dig up this picture on Remembrance Day as we look towards remembrance of war and how it seems that everybody forgot what atrocities become of war. This is a picture of me and my brother in a Lancaster. We we went and was able to sit inside a Lancaster. My uncle Cal was a rear gunner in a Lancaster, and we got to sit in the back seat where he would be shooting at the planes following him, trying to shoot him out of the sky. He died. His plane went down in Nantes, France. And me and my brother, in one drunken stupor, had his letters written to my grandmother. And so me and my brother, Kim, read his letters to each other over a bottle of vodka with no mix. And as we were reading the letters written to my grandmother, how blessed they were to have a Hershey bar or a package of cigarettes. Each envelope that was sent to my grandmother was opened, and there was a government seal on the envelope, making sure nobody was telling too much in their letters. But it was a time of remembrance. And when we read the letters, I could imagine my grandmother waiting for her son to come home from World War II and never coming home. My brother here, his name is Kim, I believe was beaten to death by policemen. Can't prove it or deny it. We see what the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, have become here in Canada. Nothing more than Nazis and brown coats. There's me. But as we were in the Lancaster, the tour group got to wander off and poke around a bit. And I asked the guy, can I sit in the seat where my uncle sat? And he said, yeah. And he told me, now imagine it bitterly cold and the planes are roaring really loud and you could barely hear or talk and you could see your breath. And imagine being in this plane where it's so cold you can't touch the seats and you can't touch the walls, and the walls are riddled with holes. And you could sit and see the traces of the bullets coming towards you, and there's nothing you could do but keep your hand on the trigger and keep on shooting back at the Nazis following. And I sat in that seat and grabbed the turret. Oh yeah, I'm this dude here. That's me, and that's my brother Kim. This was my brother Kim, who was murdered by police. Ironically, a picture of him with the police. But yeah, and so as we sat there and imagined what it was like to be sitting in this plane with all the turbulence and the bouncing around and having gloves on and your fingers getting frozen and stiff with the roaring of the engines. And I think today, it being Remembrance Day, and I think of the things that we went through as a people. And it's very hard to imagine what our ancestors went through to stop the Nazis. Yeah, these pictures were antiqued, so they were purposefully, when we had them printed, they had the patina of an antique picture. Yeah. So anyway, it took me a while to find those pictures and dig them up, but you know, the 11th on the 11th month, on the 11th day, on the 11th hour, you know, everything's a ritual to these monsters. And now on a Remembrance Day, we're facing a World War III with Albert Pike's Freemason Jesuits, the Trilateral Commission, the Council of Foreign Relations, the International Monetary Fund, And these secret societies that want us to kill each other, want this depopulation war. Ooh, those Muslims, ooh, those Christians, divide and conquer nonsense. And I feel great sympathy for the people in England. There is no king in thee. Prince Charles has betrayed his own people, and it is sad. Yeah, that's my brother and me, but my uncle was the one who died in Nantes, France. His plane was shot down. A couple of sayings from World War II that remind me of what war we're against now is fifth generation warfare. And when you're over target, the only reason and the only way they knew they were over target was they started receiving ground fire. People on the ground would be told to darken your windows and keep your lights low so that when the bombers flew overhead, they wouldn't know where the city is and they wouldn't bomb the city. They made Hitler to be this really bad guy, but now that I think about it, the Hitler was trying to erase these Zionist Talmudic monsters that brought in pornography, filth, and disgust into the German nation, brought in this filthy pornography bestiality, and they called it, oh, it's just art, it's performance art. And I'm reminded of the movie Moulin Rouge, and that is a good depiction of their theater, their burlesques, where they had brought in this filth, bought everything, and started infiltrating the governments of Europe. And if you ever get your hands on the video, it's still out there, The Secret Real Truth of Adolf Hitler. One thing is to be said about the supposed monster is that he in his country was a hero. And he was a one that wanted to destroy the Zionist regime, the ones that brought in this malevolence and I would call it filth. Now, when you have these people that own Pornhub and all of the porn industry, and you ask yourself, how can they be rabbis if they own the porn industry, if they own Pornhub and all of this stuff? It's because they're not rabbis of Yeshua HaMashiach. They're not rabbis of the Ten Commandments. They're Babylonian. Furthermore, one is to be said about Adolf Hitler is he was a messenger in World War I. Whether he burnt down the Reichstag or not to bring in total power is irrelevant. I wasn't there. I can't comment on it. But I can say this, that in the movie or documentary, The Secret Real Truth of Adolf Hitler, one very poignant, important part about that video is absolutely 100% true, is this evil traveling Wilburys, what would some people call the gypsies, the wandering gypsies, or in the movie Wizard of Oz, these people who peddled their medicine, their necromancy, and their crystal balls. In the movie Wizard of Oz, you have the wizard being the traveling Wilbury, and these Zionists, these traveling gypsies, if you will, that were kicked out of every single country in Europe for destroying children, beating and bludgeoning children and bleeding out their blood, and war tribunal after war tribunal after court case kicked out of every single country in Europe. That's a fact. Now, when the Austrian government and the invention of a money, a currency that would depreciate, Silvo Giselle created a currency called the wargle. The wargle was a currency that you had to stamp. You had to renew it. You had to use this currency or it would depreciate. In my videos, I do this, and for Canadians, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. Silvo Giselle created a currency that would be able to be renewed if you didn't use it, but it was designed to rot like a potato on your shelf, unquote. And the idea of using currency is that it's a tool. It's just a promissory note. You'd work, you'd get a promissory note from your employer, and you'd take the promissory note and you'd go and buy your potatoes and tomatoes. And if you didn't use it, you'd lose it. So the idea was you buy sustenance, and if you have extra, if you don't give it away, it'll rot. So you might as well give your potatoes away to the homeless, to the widow, to the naked, to the poor. Silvo Giselle and his currency, most likely, in all reality, knowing these world Zionist, Talmudic, worshipping, devil honoring monsters, these Babylonians, most likely started World War II. Austria created their own currency. This is a Canadian Tire dollar bill worth 5 cents. If you had a Canadian Tire dollar right now, it's actually worth $1. So the Canadian Tire dollar is worth more in Canada than our own currency. That is a sad statement of where these bankers have taken over the world and committed murder, sedition, treason, and genocide. This is a fact. This is a Canadian $5 bill, and it's worth almost $1 trillion, if not $78 billion worth of debt and servitude and slavery. This does not represent any fair and equitable trade when your government would take your money and give it to another country to commit murder and sedition and treason. This is a breach of contract. Contract with the Corporation of Canada and America, null and void. Period. Whether you're in England or Ireland or France or Germany, the Commonwealth nations need to understand that this is a breach of contract. The contract is that I work, you give me a promissory note, and I go and buy my potatoes and tomatoes. But if you own it all, then this is no different than a slave in the cotton picking industry in America, and then you go and you rent from the field owner, and he sells you wine and whiskey and orange juice, and by the time you're finished your day, your day's labor went to feed yourself. Come out of Babylon, my people. The wargle was designed to rot like a potato on the shelf. This war will be won with information and truth. That's how we win this war. You don't need currency, a debt note, debt, and slavery and servitude. If your government has committed murder, sedition, and treason with your own money, it's contract null and void, America. The Corporation of America in 1776, it's null and void. The Federal Reserve, there is nothing federal about that institution. It's a privately owned bank by the same monsters that in World War II were taking over Germany at the time, bringing in their filth, their pornography, their bestiality, and saying, like Kevin Bacon said, it's art. Transgender, it's art, it's theater. It's filth. Period. And so no matter how you look at it, for those that don't know, that aren't in the know, that don't comprehend the history, why it's not taught to our children, is because it's very simple. You shall not buy, sell, and trade without the mark of the beast. This is a beast
system. It's not a beast with horns and red skin and hoofed feet. It's a system, and it's a beast. And the king, not my king, the king of England, and Mark Carney swearing an oath to the king of England, not Canada, that he would give sound body and mind servitude to the king, a German, not a British man of British descent, but of German bloodline and of the house of Esau, Jesus, the Canaanites. Prince Charles is no more English or British than I am African. You see, we've been all deceived to believe we need money. We don't need money. And on this day of remembrance, let me bring it to your memory that the ones that went into Austria and destroyed the German people and destroyed the Russian Orthodox Christians and destroyed the Polish people, where Adolf Hitler pleaded with the monarchy of England, just let my people go. And the answer was no. And then the one who wins the war writes history. There was no Cyclone B poisoning in their barbecue Auschwitz camps and this massive deception of this Holocaust, meaning burnt offering. No. Your history is a lie. There was not 6 million of those Zionists, not Jews, not Hebrews. There was not 6 million Canaanites in that region at the time. Oh yes, there was war, there was murder, there was mayhem. People say, ooh, Adolf Hitler was racist. He had every race in his regiment. When you understand and study the Wargel, Silvo Gesell, an Austrian man who hated the banks, and now you know why. When he designed this money to rot like a potato on your shelf, this money was designed to eliminate greed. What did the evil ones do? Create a bank that you would have money appreciate. Just stick it and give it to us. We'll invest it for you. And your $10 will be $15, and your $15 will be $20, and in no time you'll be so wealthy you could just sit on your bum and do nothing. Trust us. Give us your money. Yeshua HaMashiach, the Nazareth, the Nazarene, the Word made flesh out of the Tanakh, out of the Torah, out of the Old Testament. He said this, you den of vipers, you've turned my Father's house of worship into a market and his people into merchandise. And he tipped over the money changers' tables and cracked his whip. Same people to this very day, money changers, bankers, den of vipers, every single one of them, Vanguard, BlackRock, Wayfair, Zellers, Mason, Amazon, Costco, all of these big oligarchs that are trillionaires and millionaires and billionaires, greedy beyond your comprehension and extremely malevolent in the fashion industry, in Hollywood, wood of holly, Hollywood, the spellcaster's wand made of wood of holly. As we remember on this day of remembrance, on the 11th hour, the 11th day, on the 11th month, 11, 11, 11, which just happens to equal 33. The 33 Freemason number all day long. Let us remember that 1/3 of heaven was cast out onto Mount Hermon, where they had claimed that land, that mountain, with a Star of Rephaim flag of baby blue and white colors. Let us remember this day of remembrance that 1/3 of the heavenly realms and angels were cast down to earth, and that's where you get your 33%. That's where you get your 47, 47, 47 on the Charlie Kirk, Captain Kirk, Kansas City Chiefs, CK, KKK, C being the third letter, K being the 11th letter, Ku Klux Klan, 11, 11, 11. That's where you get this monstrous coding of this Babylonian empire that we exist in, that we're walking out of this day. Let us remember on Remembrance Day that they just banned the poppy in New Brunswick and in Saskatchewan, where you can't wear a poppy to remember. Let us remember what they did to our children when they were kicked out of every country in Europe. They took your children, they beat them, they poked them and bludgeoned them and bled them out for their adrenalized blood, because that's what they do. They worship Baal, Baal, Baali, and they accused our blessed hope. You cast out demons in Baal's name? And Yahushua HaMashiach said unto these den of vipers, surely a divided house shall surely fall. You can't cast a demon out with a demon. But Ben Shapiro seems to think that the Talmud and that Yeshua HaMashiach, our blessed hope, who raised from the dead, fed the hungry, clothed the naked, made the blind see, the deaf hear, and healed those who need healing, that spoke truth and marched to his death. Ben Shapiro and others would make you believe that he's boiling in excrement in hell right now? Really? Interesting. The one house that is divided that will surely fall is the satanic empire built on greed and the blood and bones of your children. Our children. The children. Because they're cowards. They devour the children. And the warriors have been lulled to sleep with the whore of Babylon's strong drink and wine and pornography. Witchcraft, necromancy, holly wood, wood of holly. Oh, let's go see a sports game. Ooh, the Blue Jays are playing. Oh, we almost won again. Let's go to the Oilers game and spend $60 on a jersey that maybe cost 20 cents to make. Let's go buy some Nikes, another deity. And Jordan and Kobe Bryant, all worshiping zeros. They're not heroes. Let us remember this day, Remembrance Day, that many died. Many were put in concentration camps. The death marches of the Japanese armies, they marched our brothers and sisters until they died. They've been experimenting on humans since the beginning. Let us remember this day that the black community in America were experimented on with syphilis, LSD. Let us remember that Alcatraz and the prisoners of their own society were experimented on. Let us remember that CIA was brought to you by a bunch of Nazis out of Germany during Project Paperclip. And NASA, T-minus 4 seconds and counting, T-minus 4 seconds and counting, because if you put the word T, or the letter T, back in the word NASA, it just happens to spell Satan Claus. Let us remember that NASA was founded on Project Paperclip and a bunch of Nazis. Interesting, isn't it? Von Braun on his tombstone, where he had Psalms, the heavens declare his handiwork. Every one of these monsters have a chance to repent. Let us remind them. Let us remind each other during this day where we're not allowed to wear poppies, because they're going to erase this from your memory like they want to erase the word freedom from your language. These monsters literally wrote that they want to remove the word freedom from your lexicon. How evil would you have to be to do that with your digital ID, your cryptocurrency? Oh, you will own nothing and be happy, says the deviant Klaus Schwab. And trust me, I've seen pictures of him and he's deviant. They all have one thing in common: their deviancy and hatred of truth and love of money and power. We do war against principalities in high places, and those that are believers are brought back to the remembrance. They're remembered their first love, their first position, their Father. Their purpose in life is going to be brought back to the remembrance, and the chosen few will speak boldly until death and show with the light that is within them and reveal to the world their darkness. We are the light of the world, and you are to take your lamp underneath your table and hold it up and shine brightly and remember this day of remembrance, why you were here, why you're on this planet. Go study Silvo Giselle's Wargle. That time they were paying reparations to the Zionist, Talmudic, worshipping Babylonian Canaanites. And in Australia, they were broke. Their country was decimated. They come up with the Wargle, and they were out of debt within months. It was the fastest currency exchanged on the planet, 14 times faster than any other currency in the world. They'd lose it, so they bought schools and playgrounds and hospitals, and they started building and building. They were out of debt in no time. We need to bring back the Wargle. As a nation in Canada and America, we need to start using our own money, a promissory note, that would depreciate in value. And here's this spamming of Topa Polium. That star of Rephaim that you just bombarded my channel with is the star of Rephaim. It is not the star of David. It is the star of Rephaim, satanic. Woe to those who say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. All your money and wealth will bring you nothing. You will lament and cry and mourn when your ships are destroyed, and the Hura Babylon sits where they had crucified him, and will be utterly laid waste. And you will wake up one morning and go, I guess I was falling man and not my Elohim. I guess I was reading the wrong book, the Talmud, and not the Torah, not the Tanakh. Oops. You still have time to repent. We face the darkest time in human history before us on this Remembrance Day, with threat of arrest, 20 years in jail, for telling the truth in Canada, that we can't pray out in front of abortion clinics designed by Margaret Sanger, a known eugenist and a hater of people of color. You can't connect the dots that these people were eugenists, and Dr. Billy Goat Gates was a eugenist, and that he wanted to depopulate the world. Ted Turner with TED Broadcasting, another eugenist. Klaus Schwab. Justin Trudeau, born on December 25th. Anthony Fauci, Fauci meaning mask, that you would not understand how much these people hate you, that they want to destroy you, that the Georgia Guidestones say clearly, let us keep the population under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. And that monument destroyed on George Bush Sr.'s birthday? You're faced with the darkest time in history, and you are told to be brave and speak boldly and tell the truth. The truth shall set you free. What is the truth? That the Austrian people were a peace-loving people that wanted no war, they wanted no famine, they wanted to be left alone in peace. And my brother and I went into this plane, the Lancaster, and that's me, and we were able to read the letters from my uncle in World War II. And I'll tell you this, we do not want World War III. We do not want to kill each other. We want to hold war tribunals where our mayors, our police chiefs, our government govern to control, ment meaning mind, our mind controllers are destroying our economies to bring in digital currency. Digital. You can't even hold it in your hand anymore and it's worth debt. It's not a currency. A sad day in Canada when Mark Carney, a known affiliate of Ghislaine Maxwell, they all have one thing in common. They have somebody in their family that's transgender or deviant or connected to Epstein Island or Aga Khan Island or P. Diddy parties and coercion and wealth and filth. They all have one thing in common: greed, wealth, filth, malevolence. You judge a man by the fruit of his tree, and if his fruit is good, it yields good fruit. These are thorns. These are poisonous vipers, and their fruit is rotten to the core. When people wake up to the fact that their current, the moving of electricity, and their currency has stagnated and entrapped them and enslaved them, like in the Matrix, you're a battery, and you're feeding this current, this electricity, to these monsters that are malevolent, then you will see. And you will stand up and say, I don't need your money. I don't need your poison food. I don't need your styrofoam flavored shrimp cocktail. I hold no hatred in my heart and promote no violence. This Remembrance Day, I remember my first love. Yahuwah, Yahushua, my Hamashiach, your Hamashiach. Remember, remember, November. You will see these things unfold before you, and this is to remind you of where you're from and where you're going. We all stand up. We all say no. We win. They could call these ostriches in British Columbia and say, oh, they were infected with H1N1 51-6785954, whatever. The truth of the matter is that people were trying to think outside the box and come up with cures. And they murdered all those birds because they had the cure. They don't want you to get healthy. They want to sell you pharmakeia, pharmacia, pharmacy. Right out of the book of Enoch, the cutting of roots and trees taught to us by Azazel. The witches and warlocks and their little cauldrons, their poison, their poppies, their heroin. I can't sell valerium here in Canada, but they could sell Valium. Same thing. They just legalized cocaine and heroin and every other known drug because they want you addicted and they want you to get dead. They're not promoting life. They've made a covenant of death. They're pushing pedophilia, where you cannot sell unpasteurized milk with a 2-year sentence, but you're allowed to have child pornography, where they just removed a 1-year mandatory sentence for possession of videos where children as young as 3 years old in Canada are being raped on video. And that's okay. Right, Mark Carney? Right, Court of Queen's bench? Oh, it's unconstitutional. These people have a right. It's a sexual orientation. It's evil. Period. All of you so-called teachers in your teachers union in Alberta's going, oh, this is so unfair that these pedophiles are on strike. Where do pedophiles hang out with? Where do they hang out? Where children are. That's in schools and playgrounds. The blind leading the blind? You want some teacher showing your 4-year-old how to masturbate and read pornography and show them filth? Or do you want to stand up and say no more? That's what's happening in Canada. In Germany, they have these little classrooms for these poor little German children. And you got some malevolent creepoid showing them how to masturbate. Preachers in the church won't tell you this and stand up boldly and speak clearly that we're up against the darkest time in human history, and this is what they're doing. In the court case in British Columbia right now, a father says, you are my son, not my daughter. Who told you that? Well, my teacher did. Well, you're my son, not my daughter. Who told you that? My teacher told me. These kids, highly impressionable, beautiful creatures of Yahweh, are being destroyed. And these purple-haired people are saying, it's our right. Your right, your free will to act as you please, yes. You are given free will by your Creator that you would choose evil. When asked, how young are these children sacrificed to Baal? The answer was, with the umbilical cord still attached to its mother. Gruesome. This has brought to your remembrance the evil we're up against. This is not fiction. When you're in a digital prison and you're at the point where you will not buy, sell, and trade without the mark of the beast, when they could seize your bank account already, when they could lock up the food and take away your ability to grow food, produce food, and help and love one another, it's over. All flesh shall be corrupted if time was not cut short. Hello, Dave. Blessings, Maine. Good to see you. This day, I am reminded, when I was in this Lancaster, my Uncle Cal died in World War II in a rear gunner in this plane. And there he was shooting at the plane, following him, trying to get this plane as the plane's shooting him. And I'm brought to remember how every woman and man in World War II and in World War I was murdered by these Zionists, these Talmudic worshiping monsters, that they did not hear the prophecy at Fatima saying, you will have a World War II, you will have a World War III, if you do not repent. And here we are. right before World War III and the destruction of all things, and it's brought to your remembrance that they said they're going to have a World War I, and the gematria date equals 68. That in World War II, the starting date of World War II equaling 68, and the invasion of Ukraine in gematria equaling 68. How much evidence do you need that World War I, World War II, and now, right before us, World War III was planned, orchestrated to destroy us? All those men of valor and honor and distinction, these men gave their lives for us, that we may be free. All of them died in vain. Live by the sword, die by the sword. The bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, when you go to Gematria Nator Calculator on the internet, and you type in The Truman Show with Jim Carrey, JC, in mocking of our Jesus Christ, the Catholic Church deity born on December 25th, when you see Jim Carrey play this Berkman Truman Show character, you will see in the Gematria Decode that the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima was planned to the date, to the hour, to the minute. And that every one of those people who died in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it was a ritual holocaust, meaning burnt offering. And there's these Zionists saying, oh, there's 6 million of us that were murdered. Khmer Rouge killing fields? Tiananmen Square, Chairman Mao? All of these Freemasons shaking hands to each other, and there you have these Bolsheviks in Russia. How many Russian people died when Stalin killed his own people? I remember this day of remembrance. You're going to listen to man? You got to go kill those people because they're bad and we're good. Wake up, America. Wake up, Canada. Wake up, Europe. Ursula, another monster, saying European values are mostly Talmudic. Really? Where it's okay to have sex with children as young as 3 years old? The Talmudic values are European? I don't think so. Where it's okay to rip off a goyim and rape and murder a Christian? Those are not European values, Ursula. They're Babylonian. They're satanic values. And they don't represent 90% of this world. The true Muslims, they're not violent people, just the ones that believe in these satanic doctrines. It's just fact. Hi, Birdie Bear. When a currency like the Canadian Tire here in Canada is more than the Canadian dollar, debt currency, current currency with electricity flows, the Wargel by Silvo Gesell in Austria, pre-World War II, would have saved the world. You would have a currency that depreciates in value. I have a potato. I have a tomato. I have something here of value that if I don't use this, it will rot. So if I have too much, I better share it with my brothers and sisters, or it'll just be compost. And they had more money than they knew what to do with. The currency, depreciating value currency, is the only answer to save this world. Join me. Fight, share this knowledge. A depreciating currency, get rid of the Federal Reserve, get rid of the bankers, get rid of these monsters like Vanguard and BlackRock, seize their land, It was spoils of war from the beginning. The stock market crashes were all contrived, so they stole it from you. They don't own it. Vanguard doesn't own, Prince Charles, not my king, doesn't own Canada. The Vatican doesn't own anything. Everything that you see before us is divide and conquer. And you think these natives in British Columbia own Kamloops, own Vancouver, because they were there first? It's a land grab. This is a wealth grab. It's just theft. It's just murder. That's all it is. It's not complex. It's pretty simple. Hey, look over there while I steal everything. They don't own. Vanguard and BlackRock and Wayfair and Donald Trump and all of these billionaires, they don't own you. They don't own the land. This land I stand on and the air I breathe is owned by Yahweh Adonai Elohim, our Creator. Everything is His. How dare you say this is my land? We're taking it back from the white man. The color of my skin is irrelevant. I'm native. Don't look native. I don't wear head chiefs like they did when they worshipped the ones with elongated heads in the Yucatan Peninsula, and their ziggurats, their little pyramids where they sacrifice their own children to their deity demons. You chase back the origins of all of these monsters and these necromancers and these shaman. Oh, we're shaman. You're witches and warlocks. You are not shaman. You are not healers. You are deceived. And everybody's following man to their destruction. And there's a chosen few that are following their Creator, their blessed hope, the truth, and it will set you free. I'm remembering what it was like this day to sit in this plane in a Lancaster and remember my Uncle Cal shooting these planes coming at him, and he was in the very tail end of that plane, and I'm brought to remembrance his sacrifice, that he died so that we may live in freedom, and it was all in vain. Vanity. It is a vain thing. Out of Scripture it says clearly, it is vain. Look at me, I've got a house, I got a car, I've got a $1 billion house. Look at how awesome I am. It's vanity that you would believe in these monsters. Elbows up, Mark Carney says. Elbows up. Mike Myers, another Holly weirdo. The spy who shagged me. Groovy, baby, yeah. Just another jester in the courts. Just another protagonist. Just another bought and paid for crisis actor, like George Floyd at his own funeral. Knee on the neck for so many minutes. All of it, including Charlie Kirk's murder / fake death, whatever you want to call it. Distraction. They're bringing in digital ID and currency in all nations. Oh, it's crypto, it's blockchain, it's this, it's that. It's malevolent enslavement and the end of all things. When you understand prophecy and those preachers that do not speak of these things, woe unto you. You've scattered the flock. I'll make it very clear for you. In the end times, there was Hamas, terror. In the end times, all flesh shall be corrupted if time was not cut short. They're putting this in everything. Why do I grow my own food? Why do I tell people, grow your own food? Because they're putting it in everything. Why are they spraying the air If you trust the plan, watching a movie, eat some popcorn, that's a Bolshevik move. They're still spraying the skies with poison. They're still initiating their banking cartel, money changers' plan to own everything, every stitch of land, every animal, every creature, everything in this world. They want to own it all. You will own nothing and be happy. They're not going to stop. You cannot reason with this malevolence. You can only stand up, be firm in your belief and love of your Father, and remember where you came from and where you're going. On this Remembrance Day, remember your first love. Remember who you were as a child. Wake up, remember. Who were you when you were 5 years old, before this world had corrupted you and destroyed your remembrance and your purpose? Those people that are awake, not awoke, those people that are not of this world, you're remembering that none of this matters. You can't control me anymore. I don't need your McDonald's human DNA in the hot dogs and human DNA in your hamburgers. Poison. I don't need your monster drink where it has the Tav, 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 the sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. I don't need your poison necromancy and going to a Blue Jays game and a Oilers game and Kansas City Chief game, KC, 11, third letter of the alphabet, 33, all your symbolism. I don't need it. I don't need nothing. I speak truth. They're going to continue. Everything that they're doing is been planned for millennia. This is to be done and will be done according to prophecy. On this Remembrance Day, you are to remember the atrocities of war. Even though they won't allow you to wear a poppy here in Canada, in New Brunswick and in Saskatchewan, and soon almost everywhere, they'll just outlaw it to say, well, you know, we got Aboriginal Remembrance Day and then we got the regular Canadian Aboriginal Day. Well, what's the difference? Are we not wearing the same uniform? You Aboriginal leaders that have gone astray, your blood spills differently on the ground than my blood? It's just more divide and conquer. Oh, black television, white television, black entertainment, white entertainment. Is your blood not the same color, whether you're African American, African Canadian, or white Canadian? If we had white TV only, and we had apartheid, it's no different. They want us fighting and dividing each other when we are to unite and stand up all together and say, no, we're not going to fight each other. Muslims, unite with the rest of us. Hare Krishna, Buddha, Judah, it doesn't matter. You're all going to be destroyed for lack of knowledge. He says his children die for lack of knowledge. I just got a letter in the mail about this Queen Deldo in Canada, where the mayor supposedly, and I wouldn't doubt this, cut off the sewage, then called a crisis, and then had the RCMP go in there and seize that land, and the CBC and CTV and NBC and BBC and all of the fake propaganda said, oh, these guys are terrorists. They're a bunch of nutbars, tinfoil hat wearing religious fanatics. You believe the media? Do you really believe your mayor? Do you believe the politicians and these lawyers? Let me tell you something, America. British accredited registry. The Bar Association. I'm a lawyer. I'm looking out for America. Are you? With a name like a British accredited registry? Just saying. Whose law? The Ten Commandments law or man's law? You are brought to remembrance this day. Where your law come from, Acts, out of the Bible. Give the gleanings of your fields to the homeless and the widow. Clothe the naked. Feed the hungry. That's where your communism comes from. Communalism. Communal life. There is no Jew, no Gentile. Feed the stranger in your land, the Goyim. On your Sabbath you keep holy. Even your slaves. Do no servile work. Love one another. That was the 10 Commandments. Don't be jealous of their dainties. Ooh, P. Diddy's got a car. They got a $4,000 pair of Nikes. I want to be just like them. Be not jealous of their dainties. Do not look at those people and wish that you were them. Be glad that you're not these Babylonian monsters flying all over the place, committing murder, sedition, and treason. For their end is coming. Be blessed in your poverty. My rant is over for this day, that I would remember the men and women of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, where the Australian government told the American government there's a fleet headed towards Hawaii, and they're going to come after you guys. And they did nothing. And there's this crisis actor president saying, oh, they bombed Pearl Harbor and murdered all of those beautiful soldiers, men and women. Ooh. You are to remember that they were warned about this and they bombed Pearl Harbor to get America into the war. You are to remember that your own government did that to your own soldiers. The Enigma machine. Again, Jim Carrey playing the Enigma in the Batman movie, where they had a little suction cup and they were brainwashing people. Do you remember that movie? Miss Enigma, the Enigma machine, where they literally decoded the Germans' language and they were able to say, hey, we finally know what the Germans are saying, but let them bomb that ship. Because if we warn that ship, they're going to know we decoded their messages. And that's what they were told. So they are listening to the enemy's language and they know this ship is going to be bombed, and they did nothing. They let that ship be bombed and those people die. And the excuse was, we don't want the Germans to know that we could hear their communications. So what's the purpose? To let your men and women of honor and valor die? And the generals and the captains and the lieutenants said, yes, sir. I understand, sir. We got to have sacrifices. We got to break an egg to make an omelet. Yes, sir. No, sir. Because they listened to man. USS Liberty, bombed by the Zionists, the ones that say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Bombing an American ship, and they couldn't tell it's an American ship? I don't think so. Lies. And the fleet admiral and the captains and the lieutenants, yes, sir, no, sir, were hoping that ship would sink and America would be dragged into another war. And they did nothing. Over and over and over. Whether it's the killing fields of Manchuria, Tiananmen Square, it was brought to my remembrance. The day before the anniversary of Tiananmen Square, my father put in my mind the song Black Boys on Mopeds by Sinead O'Connor. Margaret Thatcher on TV, shocked at the deaths that took place in Beijing. It seems strange that she should be offended by the same orders given by her. I've said this before now. You said I was childish, but don't say it now. Remember what he told you. If they hated him, they will hate you. And I woke up with that song in my mind and I went, what is that? So I took my phone and I played the song, and for the first time, I remembered the lyrics of that song. And it sent chills up and down my arm, and the hair stood on my neck, and I cried and I went, what is this, Father? And I looked up the date, and it was the anniversary of Tiananmen Square massacre. You don't think your Father's talking to you? You don't think he's crying out to you? He's talking. We stopped listening. I'm here to tell you, remember. On this day of remembrance, remember. Remember what they did. Building 1 fell. Building 2 fell. That's the 12th month. Building 7 fell. The 7th day, the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Remember. Oh, we're going to get those guys, those guys in Iraq and Iran and Kuwait, those little guys in Kuwait. We're not going to let it happen, says George Bush Sr. We got a new world order. They all speak the same language. New world order. New world order. They're still using that language of the Freemason Jesuit Albert Pike, which they just put up their statue again of this Luciferian monarchy. Do you remember? I remember. Black Lives Matter. Black matter lives. And all of the black communities were burning, and there's Anderson Cooper, Aleister Crowley, Antichrist. Well, mostly peaceful protests, says the Vanderbilt, filthy rich CIA operative. This gay CNN, well, you know. And you look at this guy and you go, oh, you be careful out there, Anderson Cooper. Paid provocateur. AC, A-lister, Antichrist, Barack meaning like Obama from the heights, traitors walk amongst you. You are to remember. We don't need a hero. Barack Obama said, hey, we just flood the public square with as much raw sewage as possible, and they won't know what to believe, unquote, says Barack, a homosexual president with a boyfriend, Michael Levin, Big Mike. They all have one thing in common: deviancy, malevolence, lies, deceit, love of war, love of money. I remember this day. Justin Trudeau saying, we find you old white stock Canadians quite offensive and will replace you. I remember you, Justin Trudeau, hanging out with Katy Perry, the astronaut. Katy Perry went to space. Can you believe that? Jeff Bezos and Oprah Winfrey, Harpo. She went to space too, her friend. It's a whole lot of hairspray getting that hair just to float around like that. And people believe this? Theater of war? Flood the public square with as much raw sewage as possible nonsense? Hey, look over there. You got Katy Perry going to space, as we just put through the legislative, parliamentary, call it what you want in America, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, anti-Semite laws, can't speak about the Zionists, can't talk truth. We got another bot and troll. Hi, praiseworthy. Hey, my sister, blessings to you. See the bots and the trolls, you're welcome here. The truth shall set you free, but a lot of you are still indoctrinated and believe in such nonsense. Katy Perry went to space. No. I am brought to remembrance truth. And the truth is that these monsters want a digital ID. You're this close from being trapped in the matrix forever. You will not be able to buy, sell, and trade without this. And if you're misbehaving like me, just talking, they'll just turn your chip off. That's it. They seized bank accounts in Canada during the truckers' rally with no warrant, no legal reason. They just attacked your account and took your money out, says the government of Canada. Here's some little old lady donated $50 to some truckers fighting for freedom, and she gets her bank account seized by her own government with no authority to do so. People beaten to a bloody pulp for honking their horn and fighting for the right to exist in Canada. What happened? What happened? They forgot the atrocities of World War II. They forgot what it was like to die. I was in this plane in World War II in my imagination, sitting in that rear gunner where my Uncle Cal died and his plane landed in Nantes, France. And I imagined what it was like to be shooting this plane as it's following me and seeing the trajectory of bullets fly through me. And for a moment, I have an imagination, and I used it, and I thought, oh, it'd be bitter cold, and the frost would be coming out of my mouth, and I'd be trying to shoot, and it loud, and I just imagined what it was like to be in World War II in that plane, and I remembered why he died, to save us from this plague of malevolence, of the Nephilim, of the Canaanites, creating every single world war. I am remembered of the atrocities of war for these freedoms that we have now that are being lost. I'm going to get rid of Sigmund whatever because I don't appreciate you. You think remembering war is funny. You are malevolent. If you think any of this is funny, do you understand what they did when they brought war, world war? How many people died? How much suffering and pain and sorrow? Germans, Englishmen, Canadians, Americans, they all went, yeah, we got to go kill them. And they did. And just like Rwanda, they were told, go kill them, and they did. There's nothing funny about this day to remember what happened and the atrocities of war that is right before us. Pray for Jerusalem, not Israel. Pray for the house of Jacob, who was renamed Israel. Pray for those people that they would repent. Don't pray for that land during the Balfour Declaration that that land exists. Pray for dirt. Pray for Israel? I don't think so. Yeah. Tony, you know what happens. They are given to Baal in Baal worship. They destroy our children before the altar of Baal or Moloch in Bohemian Grove, California. In Lincoln Park here in Canada. In New Brunswick, in the caves and the tunnels in New Brunswick. In the deep underground military bunkers and in their Freemasonic temples. Our patriarch was said, go look under the temple of King Solomon and tell me what you see. And he says, I see blaspheme. This has been going on for a long time and it's coming to an end. Balenciaga ad with children in bondage, and they found it inappropriate. And what happened? What happened? Balenciaga, Baal is king, is what Balenciaga means. And say, oops, sorry, we didn't mean to put that tape that's Baal. We didn't mean to put that book in the background of that ad about children being used. Sorry about that. No, you're not. You're mocking and scoffing us all the time with your movies and your theater. Laughing while you murder us. I remember. Yeah, they're still buying Balenciaga. And you have these rock stars, you know, the Balenciaga teeth they're holding there. And so Balenciaga this, Balenciaga that. Do you realize they have furniture and clothing and purses and hats made of human skin? Just like in World War II, where they said the Nazis were having lampshades with human skin. Isn't that consistent? John Podesta art. Ghislaine Maxwell's in light prison now. She got out. She's in a hotel resort kind of prison now. There is no justice. There will be no justice. When you have Kash Patel wearing a red wristband, just like Tucker Carlson, just like Justin Trudeau, just like Madonna, the red wristband and the Kabbalist wristband that every one of these ones wear, including the sniper who took out the sniper who took off Donald Trump's ear, that's perfectly fine. Theater of war. Oh, Donald Trump took a bullet to the ear. I don't see any evidence of an ear being hit by a bullet. But when you do christen a Levite priest, you put blood on the ear, blood on the thumb, and blood on the toe. Do you remember him saying, oh, hey, I got to get my shoe. Hang on here a minute. Fight, fight, fight. FFF 666 is what he said. Just christened another mega warlock. You know that the 47th president and the 45th president, that's 9/11, right? You do know 4 plus 5 is 9 and 4 plus 7 is 11, and it's 9/11 on his hat. All rituals, all propaganda, all witchcraft. Time's up. When the false flag happens, when the straw that breaks the camel's back happens, and when all of this pops off, and it will, remember, prepare. It's funny, I got a $5 bill, and on this $5 bill they got the Canadian space arm, like they were in space. And then you realize it's all fake. Everything is fake. Everything. So how could you remember something you don't know? Because since your birth, it's been fake. The Ruach HaKodesh, the breath of Yahuwah, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, will guide you when you pray with a humble and contrite heart. You will see clearly. The veil will be removed, just like in The Wizard of Oz. Toto, the dog, will remove that veil, and you will see the traveling Wilbury pulling levers. Pay no mind to the guy behind the screen. I am the all-powerful Oz. You will see this. You will see. On this Remembrance Day, on the 11th month, on the 11th day, on the 11th hour, the ending It's very clear, crystal clear. Many are still deceived. I hope every one of you, I would trust freedom, the original texts, the Tanakh, the Torah, the Dead Sea Scrolls. I wouldn't trust the King James Version. It's written in vulgar English by William Shakespeare, Francis Bacon. For those people that are watching, in 3 minutes, we'll remember. This is the Sefer. He's the Alpha and Omega, the before and the after, the Aleph and the Tav. You go to sefer.net, all of the books that were taken out, what they call the Apocrypha, are put back in and in order. All of the ancient texts that were put back in the preface will tell you why. No man knows the day and the hour because there's no such thing as time, really. It's just a construct. But let me say this. There'll be a famine of the word in the land. They've already outlawed the digital Bible in the EU and UK. They've banned preaching in the streets in front of abortion clinics. And now they're going to try to take out certain texts out of the Bible here in Canada because it's hate speech. What a sad day in Canada that we'd have these Bolsheviks in the House of Parliament, the House of Speech, ban speech, saying that the Bible is hate speech. In Canada, huh? Okay, we know we're close. There will be a famine of truth and the word in the land, and I encourage every one of you to get a book of that Sefer. It's a hard read. It's no different than reading vulgar English. Just saying, but it's accurate, and it is translated from Hebrew directly to English. Yes. Yes, and Rise COVID Warrior 77, if you go watch Randall Carlson's Sacred Geometry video, you'll see that the minutes, hours, seconds, months, racetrack durations, everything that we know in our world is based on that evil number. And if you go look at NASA's math, yeah. I haven't looked at that native Michigan Ojibwe, but please send it my way and I will look at it. The sacred geometry in Hornsby Island Mysteries, all these monuments all over the world, perfectly lining up with the Meseroth, it's also that math. The idea that NASA and the distance from the moon to the sun to Venus to Uranus to all of this other nonsense and their math, Pythagorean's theory, is all 666 all day long too. Yes, that will wake up a lot of people. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Praiseworthy. The Geneva 1560 and the Sefer. Yes. The Geneva, the original one. Yeah. Yes. With great love. And Christine, there's nothing wrong with the King James Version. But they have a Queen James Version now, don't they? The King James Version was written by Francis Bacon and William Shakespeare, and King James took and vetted and redacted the scripture. It's fact. Woe unto those who take a jot and a tittle out or put a jot and a tittle in, which the Talmudic Zionists did. Changes the whole meaning in Hebrew. Gets even crazier with Paleo-Hebrew. But that's what they did. There is a God. There is the God. Just that subtlety. We are greatly deceived. Yes. Yes. Jace. Yes. The reason I promote this is because I've been watching Dr. Stephen Pidgeon and the Sefer Academy, and I've been watching and listening to the pronunciation and the verbiage of what's going on. And when you understand his story, history, then it's very consistent behavior. A little bit at a time. A little redaction here, a little redaction there. Where the unholy Roman Empire in the Vatican would say, it is our duty to interpret this scripture for you in the Dark Ages. When you understand that the Jesuits that infiltrated the Catholic Church did this, then you will understand clearly, very clearly. And in my photos, in my videos, the papacy, the hat of Dagon with the star of Rephaim on the side, and the catacombs decorated with the bones of our saints, that it is the synagogue of Satan indeed. There is nothing holy about the Vatican. Nothing. Except for the believers looking for truth and cannot find it. Come out of her, my people. Yes. Vicaris Filii Dei equals 666 in Gematria. It's in their statues, it's in their monuments, it's in the longitude latitudes of the 7 churches of Laodicea, that we would see all of these churches lining up perfectly to the Pleiades system when the Pope knocked on those doors with that ritual on December last year. That is the sigil of Baphomet, of Lucifer. All of those churches perfectly lining up with the sigil of Lucifer. You tell me that's coincidental? No. The pictograph of an eclipse is the same sigil. It's the same thing with the Google search engine logo. It's the same sigil. Luciferian sigil, that those churches were all called out assemblies. Yes. Yes. May you all be blessed. 154 in the chat and 67 thumbs up. Before I go, if you want to give a thumbs up to help the algorithm, if you want to share this message on this Remembrance Day, I'm going to go and pray. I'm going to go be with my Father this day. And I'm going to remember what it was like to be in this Lancaster. That's me. I'm going to remember what it was like to be a Canadian far away from home in Europe. I read all of my uncle's letters, me and my brother. This was my brother. We were both in the plane. And we read my uncle's letters to my grandmother of what it was like to be in World War II. And I'm going to remember war. I'm going to remember what these monsters did to my last breath. And I will continue fighting against evil with words, with prayer, with love. I'm going to take this day and I'm going to remember. And I encourage you all just to take a moment of silence and love and truth and pray for your enemy. Pray that his will shall be done in their lives, that they will fulfill the prophecy, that they got a job to do. And they're not going to stop it, but it will save many. And the harvest will be great. There was altogether, they said 33 churches burnt in Canada. There was many more. There are hundreds of churches burnt in Canada because they're destroying everything Christian. Just like in the great fires of the 1800s, they're destroying history to rewrite it. In the YouTube channel, My Lunch Break, you will see the great fires of San Francisco and Toronto and New York and all of these Tartarian Empire buildings destroyed. In World War II, when these buildings were destroyed, it's no different. It's erasing history. As they're erasing history, they're writing history. And as they're writing history, they're bringing you this Nelson Mandela effect of postscripting history in front of you, saying, did that really happen in history? Or is it the Nelson Mandela effect that you thought it happened? This is psychological operations. They're trying to figure out how soon they could erase history without you remembering. And that's where this whole nonsense of removing the word freedom from the human lexicon, they're going to try. They're going to try to remove his name, Yahuwah, the tetragrammaton, from your remembrance. And you're told, remember his real name. They brought his name to naught. Remember his son's name, Yahushua, that you would remember. He says, I come in my Father's name, and you will not receive me. But another will come in another name, and you will receive him. This Christmas hippie Jesus guy, that is not his name. Remember on this day of remembrance his name, Yahuwah. Remember his son's name, Yahushua. There was no J in the alphabet. That was 500 years ago, brought in by the Germans for the word Yah to Jah. Be at peace and love this day and remember. Be blessed, everyone. Be blessed. Operate in love. Pray to your Father. Seek wisdom. Accept the Ruach HaKodesh and the free gift of grace that none of us deserve. I don't deserve this. And in closing, there's nothing special about me. But I am so blessed to not be asleep, and I am blessed that I do remember. Blessings, everyone. May you be in love and light always. I hope this message finds you.